time to look into your crystal balls. Our producer Sam asked Stevie and Mark this morning for their picks. So we're going to start with Augie. We'll go through all of your picks first, then we'll get to Stevie. And feel free, Stevie, if you disagree with anything that Augie says, to butt in. I won't be as naughty to you as Dan Thomas is on ESPN FC. So let's get Augie's graphic up with the quarterfinals, and let's find out. We're going to start the way it was done, the way that Atleti came out first, and then Borussia Dortmund. So what have you got in this one? Because Atleti got the job done against Inter, only just against the Dortmund side, who'll be equally as happy with this tie.
Yeah, but Atleti got it done, and it's against a good Inter side. Inter are flying at top of Serie A, and I don't think many teams would have been able to do that. But it's just what Atletico do. They just stick at things. They've got tenacity. They've got belief. They've got great players, and they've got the fantastic record at home in Europe. They haven't lost a knockout tie in the Champions League since 1997. So that's both at the Vicente Calderon and the Metropolitano. So I just think Atleti are too strong for Dortmund. I think Dortmund have got a good team, but they did come through the easiest tie by beating PSV Eindhoven, I guess, in the round of 16. So I just think this is too much for Dortmund. I think that Atletico have got too much experience, too much quality. They've got the best coach as well in the tie. For me, it's Atletico all the way.
PSG Barca, Augie?
Yeah. So on this one, I just think that, Barca have got a lot of injuries. They've got a lot of doubts. They've got, will Frenkie de Jong be fit again? Will Pedro be fit again? Will Ferran Torres be fit again? There's too many question marks over Barcelona. You've got people like, Ilkay Gundogan, great player, won it last season with City, Robert Lewandowski. But I just think PSG, although they are a team in transition, I think, as you saw in the last game against Real Sociedad, that Kylian Mbappe really fancies it, and he got 3 goals in that tie. I just think this is probably, for me, I think Barca are the weakest team left in the tournament, to be honest with you. And I think that PSG win quite comfortably. And then we've got an interesting semi-final against Atletico.
Arsenal or Bayern?
I'm going to go for Bayern Munich just because of what I said earlier. I just think they've got the experience. They've got the second leg in Munich. I just think Arsenal, for me, at times, as good as they are and as exciting as they are, they're living on the edge a little bit. And I think Bayern will have the nous when they go there to just kind of soak up the pressure, frustrate them, and just take it back to the Allianz and win that game. Arsenal should win this, like I said before, if they focus on the game. But I just think there's more to it than that. There's a sense of this. Arsenal have got a big pressure to do well in the Champions League. And I just think Bayern will see it as their last chance to win something. And they've got a good route to the semi-final, I think. I think Bayern win this tie.
Now, 2 years ago, Real Madrid.
Sorry.
Here he comes.
No, I'm thinking about Bayern. Now, if there's one thing Bayern have done on so many occasions this season, is they've collapsed. In the middle of games, they have gone from being in control to collapsing from nowhere on many occasions. I mean, we're talking about an Arsenal side that, if nothing else, are about as consistent as pretty much as possible to be. I don't see how Bayern are favourites at all, honestly. I just think, don't see it.
Yeah, I take your point.
They've won a couple of games. They've won a couple of games since Tuchel decided that he was leaving, and all of a sudden everybody's talking about, they're more relaxed and they're more this and what. It's not. You can't just turn the tap on and all of a sudden you play well. And you're playing against an Arsenal side that, as I said, is pushing anybody back, regardless of the name on the back of the opposition jersey. They're putting them under pressure and pushing them back. I really don't see how Bayern Munich can be favourites in this tie.
I just think, because don't forget, Arsenal struggled to knock out a Porto side that, as well organised as they were, Porto were not one of the favourites. And I think it's just that additional, so that vibe you get in the European night, the Champions League night, it's different. And I think it's different to the Premier League, where they know what they're facing. With Bayern Munich, I do wonder whether some of Arsenal's younger players will either grasp it and beat Bayern easily, or they'll look at the badge and think, look, it's Bayern Munich, it's the Champions League, it's a big step. And if Kane turns it on, if Bayern's older players just have that extra element to realise it's the last chance. I've seen it before with older teams that they do have that ability to find. I know you can't turn it on like you say, or turn it on as a tap, but they can find something extra. And that's just that's the X factor in this game. It's whether Arsenal can not look at the Bayern badge and just put it out of their minds and just go for the win.
Okay, 2 years ago, Real Madrid got it done after extra time in a dramatic semi-final that City for long spells dominated. Last year they did. They thumped Real Madrid at home and went through comfortably on aggregate. It's part 3, Augie. You can't really say Real Madrid when you cover Manchester City as often as you do, can you?
Well, I could do. Not bothered about upsetting anyone at Man City, but I just think it'd be unrealistic to think that City can't win this tie. I think last year I was at the second leg at the Etihad, and City just blew Real Madrid away, absolutely blew them away, and they dominated the midfield that night. And I think Real just couldn't get a grip. Now, obviously, Real have bought in Jude Bellingham since then, so that will make a difference. But for me, City are just on the day they're just a stronger team, and I think Real, who scores the goals apart from Bellingham. It's hard to find.
Vinny Junior's all right.
Yeah, but that game last season, Kyle Walker had him in his pocket, and I've never seen Vinny Junior so well handled by a defender. And there was a moment, I think we all remember it, where he tried to take on Kyle Walker for pace, and Walker just put the afterburners on and just nicked it away from Vinny Junior. And it was like he looked round to the bench, Vinny Junior, and thought, "I've never had that before." So there's all these little ghosts as well that Real have got to overcome. That being one, Vinny Junior thinking, "Oh, Kyle Walker again." So I just think City got the upper hand psychologically, and they're a better team. So I think City win this game, despite the fact that Real will be desperate to get revenge.
Okay, let's see your semi-final picks then on the full screen graphic for the last four. So you've got Atleti against PSG and Bayern against Man City. Okay, we'll move quickly to the final, and then you can explain why you've got these two teams in the final, and we can discuss the semis. So let's find out. Who are your two picks for the final? Atletico Madrid against Manchester City. That's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, well, it's just the way the draws panned out. I just think Atletico will have too much for PSG. I'll just be too streetwise, too smart. Unless Mbappe has one of those brilliant games. I just think Atleti are just that sort of team that will deal with PSG quite easily. Because PSG aren't a great PSG. I just think they get to the semis because they're facing a Barcelona team that's probably the worst Barca team for 10 years. So Atleti in the final for me. And Man City, well, their toughest game is Real Madrid. If they play Bayern Munich in the semi, they'll win that easily because Bayern aren't anywhere close to being as good as Real, and Real aren't as good as they used to be. So for City, it gets easier. Unless they get Arsenal. If City get Arsenal, that'll be tough, but they'll still win. So I'm going for City Atleti in the final.
And Atleti have never won the Champions League, last twice losing to Real Madrid. So bridesmaids again, City to win against Atleti. You're not going to have Atleti winning against City after City beating Real Madrid, are you?
If you put me on the spot now, I'm going to say no, but I think nobody's beating City over two legs in the Champions League. I think that's
a one-off game.
Yeah, in a one-off game,
maybe.
If it's City Atletico Madrid, I just think you sit down and get ready for the penalties at 20 to midnight because that's what they want to do.
You know what Simeone's going to do, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Back.
And they came close last year against City. I think in the quarters, I think it was, or the round of 16. So in many ways, Atleti are the worst team you could face in a final because they'll have a plan and they'll really make it stick. But you can't really say that City won't win. But I think for the romantics amongst us, to see Atletico win the title after going so close, they missed out in the 70s as well, didn't they? So this will be the fourth attempt. It would be nice for Atletico to win the Champions League after going so close, but I'm not naive. I'm not naive to sit here. Listen, I know.
Let's turn the clock back to 1980 when nobody tried to score a goal. That's a great idea.
Well, that's when you kept winning it. So what are you saying?
We want that team to win. No, there's always an exception to the rule.
Right, Stevie, let's get your picks. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring up the full screen graphic, but we're going to go straight to your picks for who has got through to the semi-final, and then we can discuss. So let's see the graphic of the Champions League, and let's see who you've got going through to the semi-finals out of these four quarters. Okay, so we've got two differences. You've got Barcelona getting through against PSG, and you've got Arsenal going through against Bayern Munich. So, what's the thinking behind PSG against Barca, Luis Enrique against Xavi?
I think this is the hardest one to pick, to be quite honest with you, because we've no idea. You look at PSG, we've got no idea how good they are. Really, we've got no real barometer to figure out how good or how bad this team is. Now, Barcelona are about as unpredictable as it comes as well. But I guess it boils down to if Mbappe turns up, PSG might win. If Mbappe doesn't turn up, they absolutely won't win. I mean, by the time this game comes around, he could be injured. I mean, we just don't know. If you're putting all your eggs in one basket, okay, it's not a bad choice, Mbappe, but at the same time, really, one man's going to do it. I can't honestly, hand on heart, pick a side to win who's relying on whether one guy turns up or not. And as unpredictable as I said, Barcelona are, they've got some players in and around the middle of the park and going forward that can produce. You know, you're looking at the experience of Lewandowski. Maybe not his greatest season, but the guy can score a goal from nowhere. You got the young guy Lamine Yamal coming from the wide areas, who's been absolutely sensational. You know, Gundogan can come up with goals. I don't see that on PSG. I'm looking at Mbappe, and that's it. I mean, okay, you want to throw in Barkley, but really you're going to rely on him as well. So, toughest one to pick, but I'm going to go with Barcelona.
Well, mental scars is the other thing for PSG, because so many times when they reach the knockout stage, even though they hold a lead from the first leg, they go to bits. Arsenal, Bayern, Harry Kane, back to North London. Now you'll face Gabriel and William Saliba. You've got Arsenal going through, just briefly, because you've already touched on this with Augie. Do you think it'll be relatively comfortable for this one, Arsenal? Is it a good thing for them that the first leg's at home?
I don't think it's going to be comfortable. I don't think it's an easy ride, and Arsenal generally don't make it easy on themselves. But I think the biggest difference would, well, there's two. I talked about the consistency of Arsenal and the inconsistency of Bayern. But goal scorers, you know, we're talking about Harry Kane. You know, who else is going to be putting the ball in the back of the net for Bayern? You know, if it's not Harry Kane, nobody's in form. Nobody's banging other goals in apart from Harry. You look at Arsenal. I mean, you go all the way back to Gabriel at centre back, who's scoring goals for fun from set pieces. So, for me, Arsenal's got more match winners. They're just better prepared. They're more prepared. Does experience come into account? Yes, it does. But at the same time, when as a team you're struggling, that Bayern are, that experience isn't going to overcome a whole side. So yeah, I see Arsenal going through. I don't think it's going to be particularly comfortable, but I just think Arsenal are so much better in all departments, pretty much. Other than the centre forward position, they're way better all round the field, in my opinion.
Well, that was the point I was going to make. Bayern have got a striker, Arsenal don't, but goals are spread around the Arsenal side. And it's now 7 years since the round of 16 tie that Bayern won 5-1 home and away. There's still one or two players that played in those games, but it is a different Arsenal side. And I would imagine Arsenal will be slight favourites for this, but that's where our difference of opinion is between Stevie Nicol and Mark Ogden. Augie's got Bayern going through, Stevie's got Arsenal. So we know your last four, Stevie. Let's take a look at the graphic again, and let's find out who you've got going through to the final. So you've got Atletico Madrid against Barcelona, Arsenal against Man City. You've got a Barcelona-Man City final. So you've got Man City taking out Arsenal and Barca getting the better of Atleti. As far as Augie's final was concerned, Man City and Atletico Madrid, of course, it's possible, but this one screams a much better final on paper than Augie's potentially would be to watch for the neutral, because Barca would have a go, Man City would have a go, and that would be a nice game for Wembley Stadium for the final this year.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, talk about storylines. I mean, I guess the first story would be, how does this Barcelona team get in the Champions League final? But you know what? If you look at it, it's absolutely possible. Again, Atletico Madrid, you know, I was talking about PSG being a one-man band before. I mean, without Griezmann, this team doesn't know how to get the ball anywhere near the goal. I mean, without Griezmann, the last 3 or 4 games, other than the Champions League game that he came back for previously, this team was lost. They had no idea how to go forward and how to create and how to score goals. And they've always relied on the defensive unit. This team can't keep a clean sheet either, Atletico Madrid, to save their lives. So, again, this is not Atletico Madrid of 4 or 5 years ago that everybody hated to play against, and they were knocking people over and they were getting in your face. Those things have kind of slowly eradicated from their game. Yes, they're still annoying, but they ain't the side that they were, in my opinion. So that's why I've gone for Barcelona.
Stevie, if Barca get to the final and whether they win it or not, does that mean that Xavi should reconsider his future? Because obviously he said he's stepping down, but he gets to Champions League final. I mean, what do you do then?
Oh yeah. I mean, even thinking about it, Barca in the Champions League final, as bad as they've been this season, it's almost
It's not the league. It's not the league.
I don't think he would stay. I really don't. Listen, I don't think he's just leaving because they're getting poor results. I think there's an awful lot of other reasons as well. I mean, I can't imagine what sort of future the next Barcelona manager has, because are they going to be able to add to this team financially? Are they going to have to sell people because of financial? I mean, I think there are so many other things other than just the results is why Xavi's leaving. I just think Xavi probably doesn't see a good, certainly in the short term, a good future at Barcelona, and I think that's a lot of the reason why he's leaving as well. So no, I don't think if he got to the final, if he would reconsider. I think he's made his mind up, and it's not just what's happening on the field. That's why, in my opinion, he's leaving.
You got City winning against Barca, Stevie?
Absolutely, yeah.